Donna Casebourn, if you will go forward with table topics. Thank you.
Thank you, April. We're going to see if we can. Anyways, I can't screen share one thing, but ethics. Guess what our theme for table topics is today? Ethics. How many of you look ahead to the pathway projects? There is a project on ethical leadership. So that got me thinking about ethics and what is also going on in the world. Doing the right thing is not relative to the situation, but is based on the ethical standards of honesty, integrity, and in the case of a car accident, personal responsibility. And we'll come back to the car accident. But first of all, an ethical dilemma for parents is whether to monitor their teens' social media activities. Teens spend a large part of their day online engaging in behaviors that have implications for their health and well-being. Let's see who we have on here today. I think we need to start with our own leader of the club, David. Should parents monitor teens' social media activities? Why and why not?
Madden, Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. This is a very topical topic in our household, as our eldest child is just turned 13 a little while ago and is now in what we call secondary school. I guess you call middle school, high school. And so we're going through this dilemma. She has a phone and some social media and so on. I think the overriding ethical consideration here is two things. Number one, you have to do what's right to protect your children, but also you need to be very, very clear on what, if you're going to monitor their activities, what you're monitoring, what the ground rules are, and have it all very clearly articulated and agreed up front. Maybe we're going a little bit overboard, but when my daughter got her phone and started using social media a little bit, we actually wrote a contract, and we said, this is what we're going to do. This is your screen time limits per day. This is how much, these are the apps that you're going to be able to have. And if we're going to add other apps, then we'll need to renegotiate that agreement. And so that's what we do. We're completely upfront. There are some apps that she can use without us viewing messages and things, but it's always with an eye to safety and clarity, and that's essentially it. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Thank you, David. Our next one is going to be for Vincent. Vincent, there are plenty of companies that do unethical things. We may not always see them, but others may see them. It may depend upon what level of an employee you are? That's it. Would you ever be a whistleblower and hold a company accountable by bringing this issue to the televisions or the proper authorities?
Mr. Table Topics Master, what an interesting question. Would I risk my life, my livelihood, to expose somebody or some practices in the company I work for? And I think it goes beyond ethics. It goes to the very essence of humanity. And I think the only answer has to be yes. We need to be able to sacrifice ourselves to the benefit of the majority of our fellow citizens. This is certainly not an easy step, and you have seen whistleblowers sitting in jails, whistleblowers who have lost all their private lives, all their happiness, just because they were trying to open somebody else's eyes and make sure that certain unethical government practices are at least exposed and perhaps not repeatable. In consequence, undoubtedly, I think it is all of our obligation to be whistleblowers, to apply critical thinking, to consider that what we see and what we hear, is that correct? Is that what we really should think, or are we just being brainwashed in thinking something and repeating something? My suggestion to you, all fellow members of Masters of Evaluation, evaluate our own lives and see if we are capable to stand up for our ideas, to stand up for our ideology, and to be ubiquitous about this in our entire life. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent. I have to remind my own husband when he thinks, am I truthful? I said, oh dear, you are very honest. You just need to learn some tact of when to say something and when not to say something. Mary Burnham, talking about car accidents. You are in a parking lot and getting in and out of the car is a tight squeeze. You realize that you hit the car beside you with your door. There is a mark on it. Do you leave a note on the windshield of the other car or not? Mary.
What an interesting topic. Thank you for that. We would all like to think we'd stand up and say, yes, it was us, we did it, we'll stick a note on the door. But when it comes to it, would we? I was tested. Now, mind you, it wasn't my car. It was my friend's car. And we were pulling out in Blackrock, and he hit another car gently and scraped it. And I looked at him and I said, have you got pen and paper now? And we could stop and leave them a note and give them your details. And he did look at me, but he wasn't getting away with it. He had to do it. I was very quick to point out that this needed to be done because I wouldn't like to be that person whose car had been scraped. There is such a thing as insurance. You know, you won't lose your livelihood. Your insurance will pay for it. So I did it on behalf of somebody else, and I have never had to do it myself, but I hope, should I be called, that I would be equally honest. Thank you, Topics Master.
Thank you. speaking of that car accident, I was in a very similar situation in a Walmart parking lot. I don't know if they have them over in Ireland and other countries, but I was waiting for my husband to come out from going in and running our errands in the store when somebody backed up and rear-ended the car right beside me. And I just went, what? I quickly got out of the car and said something to the guy, but he took off. And when the owner of that car came out, I said something to her. And I said, here's his license plate. She said, thank you, and went on her way. Social media, getting back to that, we can sometimes get so upset about something that we rant and we rave on social media. Let's see who I can question now. And let's go with John White. John, to what extent do you believe you can go to on social media about a hot topic? John.
I believe in steering clear entirely. I don't trust myself. I'm older. I'm gonna get in trouble. I remember, some of you know a background. I was married to a black woman for 20 years. I have biracial kids. I did comedy. Part of my comedy was surrounded around my affinity for the community and black women. My son said to me during post George Floyd, he said, Dad, remember you said there was 2 women that once called me racist in an open mic, and it just stayed with me for years. And my son said to me, Dad, do you remember those women? He goes, no, he said, Dad, you're not writing those jokes on Facebook, are you? You're not mentioning that you have biracial kids, are you? You haven't mentioned us by name. He was getting excited, more excited about concern for me, but also their liability. And he said, Dad, remember those 2 women that said that about you? The internet is full of them, Dad. They will come hunting for you. They will find out where you work, and they will destroy you. Dad, sit this one out, write a check, be an advocate, cover your ass. And that's what I did. I listened to my son. And when Vincent answered, I was struck by how noble and wonderful that is, but it's a continuum to me. In my culture, or in our country, the shows I watch, the line is snitches get stitches. And I think there's a real, and don't get me wrong, Vincent, I applaud you for it, and it's great, but are you going to succumb and give yourself of a system that's going to say thank you and not prosecute the people you're trying to whistleblow? And now you're out of job, you don't have a home, and your family's going, thanks for your integrity, Dad. So, it's case by case. So social media, hell no. I did swear twice because the point needs to be made. I'm laying low. Thank you for that question.
Sometimes I think a friend that used to live with us wished that he would have done that. Back in 2015, I got a phone call at a temporary job I was working at. And he said, come home right away. Somebody set your garage on fire. And I went, what? And I asked him, do both David, my husband, and I need to come home? He said, yes. I pulled into the driveway. The garage was totally gone. And his sister seems to think it was gang related because we're close to a high school. But our friend lost his car and moved out in the same day. Now, let's see. Who else can I pick on? You know, when you have been looking for a job and you get one offer, but then before you can tell them yes, you go and get another offer. What do you do? Are you being honest with that first one if you had already told them yes? Scott Oliver.
Fellow Toastmaster, I spent the entirety of my career looking for a job. Each and every day when you sell anything, you're asking somebody else to employ you. And so there have been times when I've been offered a job and then had to turn it down after I accepted it. As far as I'm concerned, until you begin, until the contract is underway, there is no ethical responsibility to them or to me. After all, if a more and better and superior candidate were to come along, they would be foolish not to have dumped me at the last second, even though I had bought a new tie and suit to go join their company. And certainly that's happened to me. So if you're in a place where you're about to be given a choice, of course you should embrace it. If you agree that it is yours to take, and embrace it with your whole heart, give it everything you have. However, it doesn't begin until it begins. Fellow Toastmasters.
Thank you, Scott. Very ubiquitous with that answer. Muriel, we need to hear from you. We hear on the internet that there are stories left and right. Tell me a story from the internet that you started to believe, and then you found out, oops, no. Muriel.
Wow, greetings. A story from the internet. I tell you, I'm not on social media very much, Madam Table Topics Master. A story I thought I believed. Let's see. I can't believe I'm almost speechless. A story I almost believed. And I began to believe it, Donna, and then I found out it was not true. Is that it?
Or here, let me ask you one of these. You can pick from this. Do I download a song or video that I have not purchased the rights to? Do I copy and paste the work of another and include it in my school assignment without crediting the author?
All of the above. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yes. But I will give credit when I quote someone. I love to give credit to those that I quote, especially if they have value and enriched my life and have enhanced it in some way, and I feel they can do that for others. However, all the others, I mean, I'm listening to music on 90-second break in between speeches that I've downloaded. So yes, indeed. But giving credit, I think it is plagiarism and taking credit for something that doesn't belong to you. I think that we should look at that differently. I think that taking credit, plagiarizing, and saying that something is yours that actually is not, I think that is unethical, and I wouldn't want to be a part of that. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Sharon, Giles. Let's say you're living out in Hollywood and you are offered a gig to promote a new suitcase, but you've never used the suitcase and you've heard stories from your friends about the suitcase. What do you do? Sharon.
Madam Toastmaster, I travel light. I put it in a plastic bag, which I usually keep in the trunk of my car. Luggage, we can't take them too many times through the airport. So I got great credit cards that I like to use once I land. I find me a mall, a boutique. I'm only there for a few days, so I know how to rinse out my underwear. So all I need is maybe a blouse, a t-shirt, a skirt, and I'm ready to go. But when it comes to luggage, I only use luggage for when I do craft items, and I haven't had a craft show in years. So I've got 2 very long pieces of luggage high on the shelf. So no, I travel light. I have tote bags. Madam Table Topic Master.
Thank you, Sharon. I hope you have seen from these questions how important integrity is. Do you value it more than product, more than other things? Is that something you're going to take with you when you die, as we all know that we will die? Now, I have an ancestor that was told years ago, because of his integrity, that is how he was able to connect with the Indians. And this was clear back in the 1850s out in the West. So I hope I have instilled something in you to think about your integrity, and that integrity is far more important than lots of other things in life.
Sharon, I'm sure that you paid attention to all these table topics. Are you prepared to share some of your thoughts?
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Yes, it's Table Topics. It was a very ambiguous event, not only with the questions, but the answers. But I must admit that several of you actually answered the question. David gave us a story, a strong story. And for those who are still raising children, hopefully you took note. I'm not one of them. Thank you. Vincent told us immediately. He's a whistleblower. He says, I'm a peacemaker, not a peacekeeper. I will turn the tables upside down and send you all to jail. Watch out for him. Our guest, Mary, honest Mary. Leave a note, raise your hand, go to jail. Thank you, Mary. John. I'm not in social media either. I also have biracial children, but I'm not sending a check to anybody unless it's going to come right back to me. Thank you for your story. Scott, job offers. You're so correct. You dress up and show up, but if you don't like the place, turn around and walk out to the other place. Muriel, I too cannot believe you were almost speechless. She didn't say she was speechless. She said almost. Hopefully you don't work on it, girl. You got words and we want to hear them. Love the smile. Thank you for the story. Now, as I said, you all answered the question except for one person, and that person was me. I'm not making a suitcase. I don't travel that much unless I am in the car, and it's usually, like I said, a plastic bag in the trunk of the car. Everything goes in there from stop to stop. That was an unconditional feedback. Hopefully you enjoyed it and look forward to the next time that I speak. And I'm going to share something with you. I'm going to take it personally. This is the second time that you put this Black lady last, okay? Step it up, step it up. Follow the agenda, follow the agenda. I may live in the Midwest, but I know how to find you. Remember, I'm a Chicago girl. Mr. General Evaluator.